Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault. And today we have a monster review. Nice new hat, huh? Yeah, Santa Dwarf was really good to me this year. I got that, I got a card, I already went to the groomer, it's all good. It's all good. I now have a helmet that's more of a fitting of my stature. So today we're going to have a monster review, and that monster review is about the Clay Golem. And the Clay Golem comes to us from the original monster manual as used with basic Dungeons & Dragons and advanced Dungeons & Dragons, or what's typically called 1E today. So the Clay Golem. Now, I'll have a tag at the end that takes you to a general discussion on golems that kind of goes along with this. But essentially, this is a very singular type of golem. This is the only golem that is can only be brought in by a lawful good cleric. Now, they have to be 17th level or higher, so that's not going to make things very easy to start with. But a 17th level or higher lawful cleric can bring in a clay golem. Now, there's a lot of caveats that go along with that, of course. But they are a very powerful creature. They're large, about 8.5 feet tall. They are, well, an amazing creature. They only have a 7 armor class, but it's still really good given how difficult it is to hit these. We'll get to that in a little bit here. And they're not intelligent at all, so you aren't going to have to worry about that part. They have a alignment that is essentially neutral, but they're under the control of the person who conjured them and went through the whole process. Now, this is an expensive process, but the Clay Golem is one of the shorter ones in terms of the length of time it takes to bring them into existence. It's going to take some time. First off, you have to fashion a clay statue that's 8.5 feet tall, that's roughly man-shaped, before you have to go through a series of spells in order to bring the creature to life. And yes, that doesn't take as long as some of these other ones, but this one isn't as strong either. It only has 50 hit points, and but it does attack as an 11 hit dice creature. It doesn't really need to worry about saves. That's kind of a hint there. In terms of magical resistance, they can be hit by some magical weapons, and they can also, and we're talking about blunt weapons, so like a hammer or a mace. And they can also be hit by a few select spells that either like slow them down or do damage to them. But it's a very, very limited list, and we'll come back to that. So first off, if you're going to bring this creature into being, you have to be of the requisite level. And then you have to spend about 20,000 gold pieces in order to put together the materials needed for the spells and the creation of this golem. Now on top of that, you have to do these spells as rituals, in the sense that you have to have a special set of vestments, so an outfit that's really, really appropriate for these rituals. And then once you start the spells, you have to do them all in a row and you can't stop. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Now, those special vestments, those cost 30,000 gold pieces just by themselves. So to bring this into existence, you're talking about a minimum cost of 50,000 gold pieces. And to be honest, this is the least expensive of any of the golems in order to create. Yeah, that's pretty daunting, right? So let's talk about the spells that are required in order to bring this into existence. They obviously are higher level cleric spells, although not all the spells in and of themselves are that high, but there's like 4 or 5 of them. And those spells include Resurrection, Animate Object, Commune, and Prayer, and a Bless spell. And they all, like I said, have to be performed one after the other while you have these 30,000 gold piece vestments on in order for this to be successful. Once it does, ta-da! You have a clay golem. Now, a clay golem is a pretty powerful creature. They do 3 to 30 points of damage with any hit that they are successful in landing. And like I said, they hit as an 11 hit dice creature. So they have a pretty good chance of hitting things, people, characters, monsters, whatever it may be. That's kind of up to you as the priest. If you're the one who actually conjured up this creature and put it together, then you have control over them. And of course, they have the ability to follow short, limited commands, guard this room, fight that bad guy, whatever it may be. Now, like I said, they do 3 to 30 points of damage. They do it with bludgeoning with their arms. But they also have this feature where they can kind of go on a limited berserk. And what happens is once that happens, they can do it for 3 continuous rounds. And it starts the round after they first are declared to have this happening. So for those 3 rounds, they're doing double hits or double attempts. They have 2 attacks a round instead of, or 4 attacks a round, something like that, instead of just the 1. Now, they also have another, I guess this is a weakness, but I mean, really, statistically speaking, it's not that great of a weakness. They have a 1% chance per round of combat, starting in the second round of combat, of you losing control of them if you're the conjurer. If that happens and you lose control of them, they go berserk and they start attacking whatever's nearest to them in terms of living creatures, and they won't stop until they're destroyed. They cannot have their you can't regain control of them. So, but a 1% cumulative chance per round is not that great. You know, thinking that even to get to 50%, you're going to have to be in 50 rounds of combat. That's not likely to happen. So, statistically speaking, your chances of avoiding this happening are pretty good. Now, like I said, these have 50 hit points. And they obviously can be damaged. And if they're damaged, in order to restore them, they can only be restored using a healing spell that's cast upon them by a 17th level or higher cleric. Now, once again, the ways in which you can hurt a golem are somewhat limited. Normal weapons don't do anything. Magical weapons that are blunt weapons, so a hammer or mace, yes, they will do normal damage. Magic does not do any damage to this except for 3 spells. There's Move Earth, Disintegrate, and Earthquake. Okay, Move Earth forces them back a fair distance, like 120 feet or something like that. And it'll also do them a fair bit of damage. I think it's up to like 36 points of damage, something like that. And a Disintegrate actually doesn't do them any damage whatsoever, but it forces them to move at half rate for a period of time. The one that does the most damage, I think, is Earthquake, and it does like up to 50 points of damage. So technically, if you got the max damage out of it, you could technically destroy a clay golem. But that's it. Fire, cold, electrical. Nope, don't work. That's pretty powerful right there. And one of the most important things about golems is the fact that, unless this 1% chance ends up with them going berserk, you don't lose control of these. You can leave them to guard something and not worry about losing control. This is not like a elemental where it's pissed at being there and it's fighting all the time to get away. Same with something like a demon or a devil. So, yeah, you got to be really careful. But in this particular case, the expenditure does give you something that has pretty good value. Having said that, a lot of money, still a lot of time, even though this is the one that you could bring out the fastest. So, in terms of us dwarves running into yeah, really a clay golem, not very likely. I've never heard of the experience happening. Stone golems I've heard, but never a clay golem. So we don't worry about them very much. You know, of course, in the adventuring world, golems are very popular. So we went out to the greater Hornhelm community and asked them about the clay golem from a dungeon master's perspective, and every dungeon master I met seems to have used these at one time or another. Not necessarily always the clay golem, but enough did where we got a very clear indication of what they thought of these from a strength standpoint, or you know, on the scale of 1 to 10, and they came back with a 6.5. I don't think I necessarily agree. I'd probably put it at a 7, mainly because magic has such a difficult time getting through to this creature. But in fairness, against any moderate sized party, there's a good chance that there'll be people who have weapons that can do damage to this. Um, Having said that, you don't want to go up against 11 hit dice creature unless you do have a fairly powerful creature or a powerful character on your side. So, now going out to the players about this, they seem to have like a phobia about golems or something. This came back as a very solid 8, and the primary reason was the fact that they were so difficult to do damage to. Yeah, that's fair, once again, depending on how strong the party of adventurers are. I thought 8 was a little bit high myself, but this is what the players say. So, that, my friends, is the clay golem. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, informative, educational, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't. By all means, leave us a comment, share with your friends, and come back and see us again real soon. We thank you so very much for your kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!